Last week, I started a series of speaking, and what I wanted to do was just go on to give you examples of how the order of God has been turned upside down. So as I spoke last week and looking in Genesis, we distinctly see an order of creation. Like God didn't create man first and then start. He didn't create plants and animals. He couldn't create plants because there was no earth. So there is a distinct order that had to happen in order for creation to happen. So he had to distinctly create the heavens first, and then he had to create light, and then he had to separate the skies from the ground, and then he had to separate the water from dry land. And then he started with creating animals and habitation. And then plants. And then once the plants were in order, he created animals. And then once the animals were in order, he created man to take care of the animals. And then once man was in order, he created woman to be his helper. So there is a distinct order. Woman couldn't have been created first. In order for the woman to exist, the man had to exist. In order for man to exist, the animals and habitations and everything had to exist. In order for the animals to exist, the plants had to exist. Because if the animals exist first, they wouldn't have anything to eat. So God had to create the plants first. In order for the plants, there had to be an earth. There had to be water. In order for all that, there had to be sunshine. Because the sunshine feeds the plants to make the plants. So there's a distinct order that God has. And this world was supposed to operate within his order, but when Satan came into the world to tempt the woman, why he went to the woman was to put his order upside down, to totally change his order. And that's what Satan is doing. That's his life goal, is to change the order, God's order in every aspect of our lives. So if you really think about it, you can see where order is really messed up. It should be a certain way, but it's going opposite. The example I gave last week was, have you ever worked with someone that is not organized at all, and they're just sporadic? They just do a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and they do something they really can't do at that time because something else has to be done. They just drive you nuts. And that's how this world operates, though. We're all out of order, and we're all in some form or another of chaos. Maybe not total chaos, but where we're trying to backtrack and put it back in order, okay? Jesus came to put everything back in order. So the truth is, and here's the truth, are you guys listening to me? Just in case you missed it last week, okay? The truth is, the order is back in place. It is back in place. Jesus came to put that order back in place. But Satan continually tries to tell us that it's not in place, that everything is out of order. That's why we struggle in our walk with God. That's why we struggle in this world. Because the world has not been put back to place, but when Jesus came, he put order back in place, but the world did not follow suit. Do you understand? Are you following me? So one of a specific area that I want to talk about today is, and God has put it in my heart because it is a big issue in today's society. It's a huge issue in today's society, is our economy. Our economy. A big percentage of why people get divorced, and it's not a reason according to biblical context, but a big percentage of why people and marriages fail is because their finances are not in order. Because they have trouble with their finances and they start to fight and then they split up. If we really look at our spending and how we spend our money, we can see the reason why our economy is struggling. It's not just an issue of us giving offering and God blessing us. It's actually an issue of how God blesses a nation. Are you following me? You know, we know we should tithe, and if we tithe, God blesses us. But it's not just that. It's not just that. If you really look at Scripture, it's not just a personal issue. It's a national issue of how we spend our money and how God blesses that nation. Are you following me? Let's look at Scripture first, and then I'll give you an example. Look at Malachi chapter 3. verse 6. Malachi. Do you guys know Malachi? It's the last book of the Old Testament. So before Matthew, Malachi. Oh, it feels nice and cool in here now, huh? Malachi chapter 3, verse 6. It says, "For I am the Lord, I change not, therefore ye sons of Jacob are not consumed. Even from the days of your fathers ye are gone away from my ordinances, and have not kept them. Return unto me, and I will return unto you, says the Lord of hosts. But he says, wherein shall we return? Will a man rob God? Yet ye have robbed me. But ye say, wherein have we robbed thee? In tithings and offerings." Now look, God is telling the Israelites, I don't change, I'm the same. And I'm going to save you guys. I'm going to stick with you guys. Otherwise, if I wasn't that kind of a God, I would have destroyed you already, because you're not following me. But I don't change. I said I'm committed to you, so I'm going to stay committed to you. Listen to me, okay? He said, I don't change. So I'm going to stay committed to you, so come back to me. You didn't follow me. Even from the time of your father Jacob, you started to go against me. But I'm telling you, come back to me. And then the people say, how can we come back to you? What do you mean come back to you? And then he says this, of all ways to come back to him, he says, you're tithing with your money. With your money. Now you guys say, when preachers preach about money, it's like, turn off. They just want my money. But you know what? Even if you tithe or not, I get the same amount of money. So that's not an issue here. So listen to me. This is about a national issue. You know that our country is going through a very, very difficult time economically. Okay? And it's because we've gone away from God. And God says, come back to me. And they say, how can we come back to you? Well, the thing that God answers is through your tithing, through your money. This is huge. This order has to go back in place. It's not because if you tithe, I'm just going to bless you. If you tithe, I want to bless your nation. I want to bless your country. I want to bless the world. When the world starts tithing, when you start giving back to me the first portion of your income. Do you understand why? In those days, it was like wheat and barley and sheep and animals, and nowadays it's monetary. Do you understand what I'm saying? Now, listen to my story. There's a little village. There's a little town. Okay, a little town in America. And the only reason that town exists is because there's a factory there. And about 90% of the people that live in that town, except for the children, but the adults, work in that factory. The whole town exists because of that factory. So because of that factory and people work there, this town was created, and then they have shopping and stuff like that. In this little town, there was just one church. And so the people that worked in the factory went to this church. And most of the people in that town went to the church. Okay? So anyhow, what happened was, the person that works in the factory that took care of the money in the factory, that paid out bills and paid out the employees, he also took care of the money in the church. Okay, are you following me? So he also took care of the money in the church. So the people in the factory said, when you pay us, just take out 10%. Don't even give us the 10%. When you pay us, just take out 10% and give it to the church. So the man said, okay, I can do that. So before they even got their money, their 10% was cut from their paycheck and given to the church. Now, listen to me carefully here. This is what happened. When they took out 10% and gave it automatically to the church, God took that offering, and you know who he blessed first? The people? He can't bless the people because the only way those people can get blessed is if the factory gets blessed. That's how the money goes up. So when they took out the 10% and gave it to the church, God blessed the people. God blessed the factory. And the factory got more business and more business. And when the factory got more business and more business, people's salaries went up. And so in turn, the people got blessed. As the people got blessed, more and more people started moving into that town. And so the town got blessed because they're spending the money out in the town. Do you get it? And then as the income got increased, the tithing increased. So the tithing went back into the church, and the church was blessed because everybody was tithing. So the church had plenty of money to go around and to do the things that they needed to do because the church was being blessed. God blessed the factory because the factory was being blessed. The people was getting blessed. And because the people was getting blessed, more people moved into the town, and the town got bigger, and the town was getting blessed, and everybody was getting blessed. Do you understand my concept here? Tithing is not a concept of just blessing my family. Tithing is a concept of blessing the country that you live in. Because if you give to God, God will bless your employer. And if God blesses your employer, then your salary will increase. You get it? You get how God's order works? But instead of giving to God, we're so caught up. We don't have that much. The economy's bad. I don't know if I can spend it. You know, and you're so fast to spend the things that you think you need. And our order is all messed up. We're putting our money in the wrong places. I have to save for my kids' education. I have to save for this. Yes, you have to save. I'm not saying don't save. But before the money goes into savings, God's money has to come to God. And then He will keep it so that your money continually comes in. What's more important? To get $1,000 one month or to get $200 consistently, month to month? What adds up? $200, right? $200 consistently. That's how God's thing is. Instead of getting a big lump at one time, we may not be seeing $1,000, $10,000 at one time, but if we continually tithe and give to the Lord, then every month is an increase. Every month you're going to see increase in what God gives back to you because He will increase your employer's business.